Luna the Zen Witch here with a very quick vlog just about health and stuff because I'm feeling terribly guilty about missing my live stream last night. I know people wait for me, and because I don't have a lot of other cross-pollinating social media active right now, I didn't have a way to reach out and say, hey, no live stream tonight. Hey, I just time traveled. I'm back now. After dinner, I've picked all the lettuce out of my teeth. At any rate, the other day, on Tuesday, I announced that I'm going to be doing an unboxing video every day. And in that video, I said, Goddess, please don't make me sorry for this. There's a reason I said that. So this is going to be a health vlog. I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues I deal with, mostly because I have a feeling that a lot of people that watch my channel also deal with the same things. And if I can validate you, if I can give you some, things that have worked for me, if I can help you at all. And also just to explain to you, here's why sometimes I will be bailing out and you won't see me for a little while, because when I get knocked, I get knocked. So, and it is my reality that no matter how well I am feeling on any given day, and right now I feel generally healthier than I have maybe my entire life, but for a long, long time. No matter what state of general health I'm in, because of certain circumstances, I can get knocked out for months at a time. And yesterday, it was kind of Tuesday and yesterday, there was this perfect storm of circumstances that kicked my pins out from under me. So the circumstances, the underlying, let's go from underlying to triggering. See, Virgo process. The underlying things are, I have fibromyalgia. I've had it my entire life, for as long as I can remember. When I was a very, very small child, I remember I just had pain, lots of pain all the time. And I was able to connect some dots in the last several years, in that I've always had a vivid memory of my mom taking me, I was probably 2 or 3, very small, to this place, and we went in and there was a high counter, and she picked me up, and they had these little white cups, the white paper cups that are all pleated and folded with a clear tasteless liquid in it, and we drank that liquid. I found out that was actually live polio vaccine, and my problems started after that. And what started happening is I started falling down. I was walking, but I started falling down all the time and crying because my legs hurt. So they would give me baby aspirin, because you gave kids aspirin back then. They didn't know about Reye's syndrome. And I remember once my mom talking about finding the baby aspirin open on the counter, and she flipped out because she thought that I ate them like candy or something. And she came in and what did you do? And I said, just one, Mommy, just one. So I was probably 4 and going for the baby aspirin on my own and knowing to take just one because I was in pain. And then when I was 6 years old, the doctor told my mom to take an adult aspirin and stick it in a spoonful of jelly so I could swallow it, because I was too little for adult aspirin, but baby aspirin did not take care of my pain. So when I was 6 years old, I was taking adult aspirin for pain. And the consequence of that is I cannot take aspirin. Aspirin makes me fucking trip. The last time I took one, I don't remember the last time I took one, but it makes me feel like literally like my hair's crawling off my head. And the way they classify that medically is anxiety. It just makes me, sensitive skin. I can't even describe it. It's just this crawly, awful feeling. So I can't take aspirin. I can't take other NSAIDs like, hold on. Apparently I didn't get all the lettuce out of my teeth. I hope you couldn't see that. No, I'm going to be paranoid about smiling. Anyway, when I was in high school, my mother had a wonderful, wonderful doctor that she took me to. I think I was 16, rather than my pediatrician, because he was really good at diagnosing. And he had diagnosed her with fibrositis, and I went to him, and he diagnosed me with the same thing. Didn't know anything else about it then. It just meant you have pain that we can't explain. So I've lived with that my entire life, and I have come to identify, being a highly sensitive person, this is another underlying factor. This is not a diagnosis or a mental illness. This is a personality type. And Elaine Aron is her name, wrote a book called The Highly Sensitive Person, and it really added a lot to the understanding of the psychology of people like me, who I'm sensitive to everything. I am sensitive to weather, atmosphere, other people's mood, foods, climate, air conditioning, humidity, smells. I'm sensitive to everything. Medication, I can't take medications. I have to try the very smallest dose, and chances are the newer the medication is, the more cutting edge it is, the worse it's going to be for me. I get horrible. If there's a side effect to be had, I will have it. And let's get rid of the idea of side effects. It's an effect of the medicine. If there are bad effects to be had, I'll have them. So those are some more underlying things. But through the years, I got to understand, through copious reading, lots of research, some sympathetic doctors. Back when I actually had one of the orthopedic surgeons I worked for in my 20s told me that he just didn't believe it. He didn't believe people could be sensitive to weather. I just don't believe it. It's like, okay, great. Thanks for just negating my reality, because I'm telling you I'm sensitive to it. I've had male gynecologists tell me that I couldn't feel when I was ovulating. How outrageous is that? So you're up against the medical community, this bastion of the patriarchy to begin with, and then with a condition. It's not a disease, it's a condition, and that's so nebulous and such a complex of symptoms. And I finally found a doctor in my 30s that I went to, and he did diagnose me with the pressure point thing. And then he told me, well, if you had good insurance, I'd do this and this and this for you, but since you don't have any, there's nothing I can do for you. Then I had a doctor who I took Xanax, and I still take Xanax as a rescue med, rarely. And I was also taking, I think, Darvocet at the time for pain, which I won't do the opioids anymore unless it's like extreme. I don't have a problem with them. I don't addict. I, take things as long as I need them. I wean off if I need to wean off. I don't have a problem with, addicting to drugs. So, and I'm sure I would with the right drugs. Things that are physically addictive for everybody. I don't psychologically addict. There's a difference. And I went to this guy, and I was just in hell because I was so tired. The fatigue was so profound, and I was ready to give up. This was in my 40s. And he told me, well, you can't take Xanax anymore, and you can't take this anymore, and basically treated me like I was an addict looking for drugs. And then he told me, well, I can't do anything for you in this practice, but if you give me $250 for the first visit and $200 for the next visit, you can come and see my private practice, and this is while I'm on Medicaid. I cried all the way home from that appointment. So through the years, reading, learning, experiencing, witnessing, and observing my own process, I've learned about flares, and I learned how to build in my ups and downs, build in my activity levels to account for those flares, knowing that when I would push myself hard, physically or big emotional impact or big stress impact, 2 days later, blam, not the next day, 2 days later, poof, sucker punch, So I would start, for instance, when I was doing Mother Drum, the day before would be big activity, preparing, writing, thinking, and doing some packing. Friday was an all-day jam. If I didn't get the packing done the day before, I would spend all day pulling things together and packing the car. I'd get to the park shelter at 3:30 in the afternoon, move tables, climb up on top of a chair on top of a table to hang lights, move furniture all around, hang fabric, put fabric on tables, put things out, set the altar, make a fire, all this stuff. And then I would do a 3-hour mother drum, 3 solid hours, and then tear everything down, pack everything away, get it in the car, get it back home. And I had help with these things. Not a lot of help sometimes, but I had help. Then the next day would be my dear husband would get it all out of the car for me because I would come home just knackered. And the next day I would have to take it all out, put it all away, pack everything away, clean up, and then it would be, I'm down. And same thing with Hogwarts. When I was doing full-time Hogwarts, I'd go there all day. I would come home, lay myself down on the bed, and it's like I am horizontal for the rest of the night. And that's how I got through the 3 and 4 day sessions of Hogwarts. Is once I got home, that was that. I got to stretch out, lay there, and don't do anything else. And I would still get clobbered at the end. So learning about how that all works and learning, the vitamins and supplements went a long way, but it still wasn't it all. I've had IBS most of my adult life, irritable bowel syndrome, which is your whole digestive tract. Mine certainly hits the lower end more than anything else. And constant diarrhea. I finally, but way back, let's say when I was in my early 40s, so 20 years ago, I discovered I have an adrenal problem. And I discovered it because I was going to my wonderful doctor who now lives in Virginia, and I will miss her forevermore because she's just an amazing person and an excellent doctor. She's a DO, very intuitive, very astute. And I was having terrible problems with my heels swelling. My Achilles tendons had knots in them, and my heels, right underneath my heel, right where you step on it, was just so tender. And that's a fibromyalgia thing. The insertion points get super tender. It's connective tissue. Through blood tests with her, she was identifying a connective tissue disorder because my, what did they call it? Oh, shit. It'll come. Okay, hold on. I need that information to come to me. All right, it'll show up. But this particular number was going up, and it's like an indicator for lupus. So I was tested for lupus, which I do not have. And what she said to me is that number going up and down like that tells me that you have a connective tissue disorder. We don't know what its name is. And I'm like, great. Of course, with Neptune opposing the ruler of my 6th house of physical health, I would have something that's undiagnosable. Remember, Neptune's the dissolver, makes things disappear, makes things weird and mysterious. Yeah, I got weird, mysterious things going on. So I know it's connective tissue, and she offered me a cortisone shot, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do cortisone, no. So finally, I was limping, I couldn't walk, it was miserable, and I went to her and said, okay, give me the shot. And being the astute doctor she is, she said, I'm not going to shoot it in your heel because that's incredibly painful. It can actually be damaging to your tendons, and it works systemically, so it doesn't have to be shot directly in that spot. And she gave it to me in my hip, and an hour later, I'm walking through Sam's Club, and it's like, I'm pushing this cart standing straight up instead of leaning. I was always leaning on the cart to walk through the store, and I'm like, look at me, I'm walking standing straight up, and I don't have to lean, and I feel normal. Wow. So I had a follow-up appointment with her 2 weeks later, and I'm like, that was the best thing ever, I feel normal. And she's like, it shouldn't have done that. You got another problem. So she thought I had Addison's disease, which is an autoimmune disease where your immune system attacks your adrenal glands. And the cortisone shot, because your adrenal glands produce cortisol, since that shot gave me such a boost, she's like, okay, you were way low on cortisol, it shouldn't have done that. And then I was on to another layer of here's why I have this crushing fatigue. So she sent me to an endocrinologist, and they tested me through a blood test, which is they do a baseline blood test, and then you take all of this cortisone, and then they test again, and I think they're looking at your adrenal glands or something. I'm not sure exactly what they're looking for, but it came back, no, your adrenals are okay. And then I find out years later that those tests are not accurate, that there are not, as far as hormones go, the absolute level does not give the picture. It's the relative level, this hormone compared to this one, because they all interact. So whether it's cortisol and adrenaline, or they just all interact. I don't know the specifics really. And I learned that saliva testing is what you have to do to really get the picture of what's going on. And they didn't do that. Doctors didn't do saliva testing. This endocrinologist, nope, we just do blood tests, okay, whatever. And then things like Medicaid would not pay for saliva testing. So as long as I was on Medicaid, I was kind of hosed. And then I had my old doctor, who it was so bad. It was so bad that I would be sitting in his office, like with my head on the table, crying. I feel horrible. I feel so bad. If this is my life, I don't want it. If this is what it's going to be, I don't want it. Is it my adrenals? I think I have problems with my adrenals, because I would get this feeling of just bottomless fatigue. And my other old doctor, when she said, describe your fatigue to me, and what I said to her is, when I know it's starting, I can tell when I go up the stairs, because I'll start going up the stairs and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I have to like pull to get my leg up. Hold on. And then it would get to the point where I'm holding onto the railing with both arms and like pulling, as well as walking up the stairs. And then the next phase would be, I'm going up the stairs on all fours. I'm using my hands and knees to get up the stairs, because I just can't even do it upright. And then the final phase is, I am absolutely bottomless tired, and I lie down, and I'm lying there wishing I could lie down, because there's absolutely no relief. I can be lying down and I'm just so fucking tired. And that was the other thing that tipped her off, that this is adrenal and not thyroid, because my thyroid's been tested so many times. But the difference is, with thyroid, you sleep all the time. I also couldn't sleep, deadly fatigued, so fucking tired I can't hold up the weight of my own head. And I'd be sitting like this all the time, because I literally could not hold up the weight of my own head without just feeling like I'm so exhausted. And I couldn't sleep. I'd go to bed and be, they call it wired and tired. So here's one thing: if you feel yourself wired and tired, like you're tense all the time, and then you're fatigued as hell, and you go to sleep and you either can't fall asleep, or you're up at 3:30 in the morning and you can't go back to sleep until 5:30 or 7:30 or whatever, that wired and tired is adrenal problems. So this doctor, I said to him, I think I have problems with adrenal fatigue. I've had this problem before. And he said, yeah, you probably got that. Would he test? Why, no, he wouldn't. Now, I was on Medicaid at the time. But did he say anything about that you're on Medicaid and they won't pay for it? No. He just said, yeah, probably got that going on. And that was that. At the same time, I had constant diarrhea. And in January of 2016, I wonder why, I started having absolutely horrible panic attacks. I mean, horrible. First one hit when I was sitting in the waiting room of my doctor's office. And we had just lost our cat Monkey like a couple days before. And our other cat Beans was having some issues. And I'm sitting, so I had been stressed. It's January of 2016 so January 2017 was right before Trump was inaugurated. This is 2016, so the last year of Obama. So, not all those worries, but just my cats and everything and stress. And I'm sitting in the waiting room, and all of a sudden it's like, oh fuck, I'm going to pass out. I'm really going to pass out. And I start breaking into a cold sweat and my heart is pounding. And I'm like, I just, wow, I got to tell somebody something here. I go up to the window and I'm leaning and I'm like, I feel really, really, really bad. I feel like I'm going to pass out. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm just feeling really bad. And they're like, okay, they got me back in a room. They laid me down on a table. And took my blood pressure and everything and made sure, and of course they were getting ready to go to lunch. And of course I'd driven there by myself. So I'm laying there and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And they're talking to me and they took blood pressure and everything and said, you're not having a heart attack. If I saw anything going on here, we'd wheel you down to the ER because it was at a hospital. But I'm laying there and they finally kind of got me calmed down and everything, and then I just started sobbing. It's like, yeah, there's so much stress here. But from that time, for the next several years, I was having terrible attacks like this, where suddenly it would be like, I'm gonna if I sit up, I'm gonna pass out. That's the way it always felt. If I sit upright, I'm gone. So I was constantly lying down. I was spending my life on the recliner, horribly overweight, and then going to my old doctor about that and him refusing to give me Xanax. Just, nope, can't prescribe that. Guess can't do that anymore. I'm like, I have a legitimate thing. I've taken it before. I don't have a problem. Nope, couldn't have it. Gave me this stuff called buspirone. All it did was make me like drunk dizzy. Drunk dizzy. I guess that would be. Took some once. I was going to the grocery store, taking my kid with me, and it's like, I need to take some. I took one. I'm in the middle of the grocery store, and all of a sudden, literally the room is spinning. So it's like, no, that shit doesn't work. It doesn't do what I need it to do. He'd given pretty much everything he gave me went south. I don't think he ever prescribed anything for Flexeril. That's still good when my back goes out. Everything else he ever prescribed for me was shit. So, and he would even say, I'm putting you on the old lady dose. And when I would talk about herbs that I was taking for things like my gallbladder, devil's claw. If you have gallbladder problems, take devil's claw. And before I got mine out, I was taking it, and he would call it hippie shit, that hippie shit. And then, lo and behold, there was an appointment where he's like, so what's that stuff that you take called bear claw or something? Because I have another patient that, can't take these drugs. And it's like, who's down with the hippie shit now? And I took my book, my prescription for nutritional healing book, into him and said, here's where I get my information. And he's looking on the back, and there's all these trained, accredited medical people that wrote this book. And he's like, this is a good source. Yes, it is. I'm not an idiot. So anyway, finally, when I applied for disability due to my lifelong depression and anxiety disorder, and that came through, I'm like, I'm done. Because he also said a couple things to me that just were so far out of line when I asked him about disability, because it's like, I cannot work. I am flat on my back. I can't do anything. His opinion was, I said, is it your opinion that I'm unable to work? And he said, well, in my opinion, if you can wiggle a single finger, you can hold a job. And I said, can you point me to one of those jobs, please? Because I don't know what job that is, And then he made a comment too about people that are addicted to heroin and said, well, some say, and which is a way of saying I think, but I don't want to own it. Some say that we should just let them all over OD once, and that's the problem will be solved. So I was done with him. So once my Medicare came through, once I got Medicare for my insurance, which sucks in its own ways, I went to this new doctor. I had heard his name 2 or 3 times, like in the space of a week and a half. And it's like, okay, that name keeps coming at me. I need to check this out. And I contacted him. It took me 3 months to get an appointment. The first appointment I had with him, he ordered a test, saliva test for my adrenals. He printed out the blood type diet for me so I could start weeding out the foods that were hurting me. And he printed out a whole thing on the blood type diet and what foods to eat and not eat. So he ordered those tests and blood work as well. When I went back to the next appointment, he's like, okay, so most people's adrenal glands, and what the saliva test is, you start off in the morning and you have to do regular. It's like 8 o'clock, noon, 8 o'clock, midnight or something, but there's like 3 or 4 times throughout the day that you take your cortisol levels. And so you have these little swabs and a little envelope to put them in, and you've got to just like spit, or you hold it in your mouth. That's right, you hold it in your mouth and just let it get soaked with spit. You stick it in its little envelope and seal it and put it in the fridge, and you do that 4 times throughout the day, because cortisol levels change. Your cortisol levels go up in the morning. This is part of your circadian rhythms too. They go up in the morning and then, level off throughout the day, and then at night they drop, and that's how you can go to sleep. And he said most people's are like this. They start up here in the morning and they kind of do this slope throughout the day. Yours looks like this. So my adrenals had flatlined. And the second appointment I had with him, he told me that he prescribed hydrocortisone for me, which I also can't take. I said I can't take ibuprofen and things like prednisone and naproxen, the NSAIDs, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. I took naproxen in high school with the fibromyalgia. That's what he put me on. I was taking it every day until I was doubled over with stomach pain. Couldn't take that anymore. If I take a single over-the-counter Advil, last time I did that was maybe 4 years ago, 3 days of stomach pain. 3 days of like doubled over intense stomach pain. If I take prednisone, TMI warning, whoop, whoop, whoop. If I take prednisone, I shit blood. And one of the things I guess that, and prednisone is basically just high dosage of cortisone. And what it does is it makes things leaky. It makes your capillaries and your blood vessels kind of leaky. So I can't take that. And even with the hydrocortisone, I started taking it the first day, miraculous. First day I took it and it's like, I feel normal, and I slept like a rock that night. It instantly life-changing. And I'm going, oh my God, I have my life back. And what you're looking at here is a different person than what I was pre-July of 2017. Or September, I should say September of 2017. But even with the hydrocortisone, the dosage he had me taking initially, after 4 days I was pooping blood, so we had to back that off. And with that, he prescribed for me an organic herbal adrenal formula to take every day, and gave me brand names for it, gave me brand names for the kind of vitamins I needed to take, other supplements, taking D, vitamin C, because the cortisone makes you leaky. And here's a tip for everybody. Have you ever heard if you bruise easily that your vitamin C is low? Believe it, because when I take, right now I only take 2,000 milligrams of C a day, but when I started taking the cortisone, I was taking 4,000 milligrams. And I have since backed up my dosage of hydrocortisone as the years have gone on, and I'm doing this formula, and we're kind of hoping that my adrenals will heal themselves so that I can back off of this. So I don't take as much vitamin C now, but vitamin C tightens up the leakiness. You don't leak anymore. So I have to take the C with the cortisone, and it's great to take anyway. I take 2,000 milligrams. You'll know when you've taken too much C because you'll get the shits. You have diarrhea, and I don't have diarrhea anymore either. So anyway, with this new doctor, I was still going through these horrible times of if I sit up, I'm going to pass out. And I would go to him and say, I just constantly feel like I'm right on the edge, like I'm about to start going tunnel vision. And I've passed out plenty of times from orthostatic hypotension, things like that, where I'll just be, standing there and suddenly it's like, woo, I'm going. So going to him for that, and what he ordered was infusions, saline infusions. So I go to the infusion center where, people are getting chemotherapy, and feeling so grateful the entire time. But the first time I went and I got this infusion, and it was like, hey, I feel good again. What was happening was because I had IBS and constant diarrhea, I was constantly dehydrated and on the verge of passing out. And he called it oh God, here's a word that I can't find either. Shit. They call it, oh fuck. Anyway, if I can figure it out, I'll tell you. So I was doing those infusions for a couple of years, and then in 2018, when I had hit 190 pounds on my very tiny frame, I have like little tiny bones. Yeah, little tiny bones. We started on keto in April of 2018. And that was another life changer, because after, I would say, 6 months of being on keto and being without grains, my IBS stopped. Just cold stopped having diarrhea. And then probably a year and a half after, I actually felt that my IBS was healed. Because even when the diarrhea stopped, if I ate something, it was like, oh, it would really hit me and I'd feel it and it would hurt and everything else. And then like all of that went away. And the way I describe my digestive system now is quiet. It's just really quiet. So yesterday I got up in so much pain. So this perfect storm where those underlying conditions, the fact that I decided to go on this unboxing jam, and I shot a whole bunch of videos in a row, and then Tuesday night we went out driving, and I came home and thought, oh, I need to do this or that, on my channel. And I got up and started working, and by the time I looked up and went, okay, I'm done, it was after 11 o'clock. My brain was wide awake, and I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't get it together and get to sleep. We had a low front come through, so the pressure changed, and we've had very little rain this summer. So it's been high pressure, high pressure, high pressure. Well, suddenly we had a gray, cloudy day, so I had a terrible headache, and I was aching, as the weather will do that to me. Particularly, it's not high or low pressure, it's the change. It's the change from low to high, the change from high to low. That hurts me. So there was that. Ragweed was high yesterday, so I woke up with this pounding sinus headache too, even with the windows closed and the air conditioning on all night. Then the staying up late, my allergies, the low pressure center, all of those things just kind of got together and kicked my ass. And then let's add to the fact that I have degenerative disc disease, so I've got discs almost completely disappeared in my neck. When I wash my hair and I'm turning my head back, it sounds like Rice Krispies. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I can hear the bones grinding on each other. And I get this nerve pain that's just, it's such a high frequency pain that I can almost not identify it. It's just like this uneasiness, but it's not like, ow, 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 It's hard to describe, but it's there. So my neck, from sitting at the computer for a lot of hours, my neck suffered too. And I sit on a kneeler chair so that my posture is as good as it can be. But when I'm editing and stuff and I'm sitting like this, the worst position I can be in. So that was another factor. And I woke up at 7 o'clock after not falling asleep until after 2. And there was no going back to sleep no matter what. I took Tylenol, forget it. It's like time to get up. So 7:30 I was in a hot tub soaking, and then I got out of the tub and I was just like, I cannot do anything today. And I had a day where anytime I sat up I would get dizzy and start sweating. So and it's hard when you live with conditions that make you feel like this. And if you've read about fibromyalgia, you'll read about flu-like symptoms, and it has you questioning. I mean, it does feel different than when you have a virus or you're really sick that way. You can feel like there's a sensation that comes with that. This feels different, but it's similar enough that you're constantly questioning, am I getting sick? Am I really sick? Is this what's going, what's happening? Am I sick? What's happening? So I was flat out yesterday. I was intending to do my live stream, and at 7 o'clock, I got up, I was downstairs, and I got up and came upstairs to start doing things, and I sat down here and just got like dizzy, sweaty. It's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So I let myself off the hook, and I apologize to you. I look forward to it as much as you did, probably more. So I wanted to explain that, and I also wanted to just talk to you about these different things. So if you have, I know some of these things, probably, I would bet that fibromyalgia is probably far more prevalent amongst people that are HSPs than not. Characteristics of an HSP, highly sensitive. We are more easily traumatized by traumatic things. At the same time, we get more benefit from healing modalities like counseling. So there is hope. It's that you're sensitive to it. You're going to be sensitive to the trauma, but you're also going to be very sensitive to what helps and the healing process. So that's the good news. Putting all these things together. So let me tie this together. When I was born, I didn't breathe because I was induced. Because my mother, when she had my sister 2 years earlier, they told her that my sister was overdue, but my mother had really irregular cycles, so the guess of a due date was probably way off. She said her cycles were very far apart. So not an accurate due date. It's a guess based on your menstrual period. And they thought she was more pregnant than she was. So they decided that they weren't going to wait for me, and they were going to give me, pick my birth date. Thank God they picked a pagan holiday, because what better way for a priestess to come through? Thank you for that. They picked the best chart ever for me. And, we can stretch this out and say, I chose that moment. I chose that time. My soul chose these circumstances. Look where they've gotten me. I'm not complaining. I'm explaining. I'm going to write that down. What the fuck? Okay. Explaining. Not complaining. I like it. Anyhow, got to keep track of yourself. Can't let these ideas go away. I can't tell you how many poems and songs have gone because it's like, I'll never forget that. I'll write it down when I get home. No, sorry. So, anyway, coming in as a highly sensitive individual. And once I was born, because I didn't breathe. So, back up. In order to induce, they give a woman a thing called Pitocin. Pitocin suppresses the breathing reflex in the infant. So when the infant is born, and sometimes that suppressed breathing, the distress will show up before the baby's even born, and then that results in a cesarean. But sometimes, the baby's born, doesn't breathe right away. So they told my mom, so I was almost a stillbirth, and I wonder, I've always wondered, did I have an NDE? Did I have a near-death experience then? I don't know, because if I wasn't breathing, then the soul didn't come into the body yet. So I don't know, but it's a fascinating thing to think about. At any rate, because I didn't breathe, the pediatrician told my mother to let me cry to strengthen my lungs. Just let her cry. So as an infant, a newborn, I was left to cry, which broke something and set up my lifelong depression. And because of that stress, from the time I came onto this planet, I was under stress of nobody can hear me, nobody's going to come to me, I'm going to die. So my system has been flooded with cortisol my entire life. And no wonder my adrenals don't work. This is called adrenal insufficiency is the diagnosis. And they're insufficient because they've been overworked from the time I hit the planet. So anyway, all of these things mean that no matter, I'm doing yoga every day, I feel so good, but yesterday was a reminder that the conditions are still there. I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm not healed and that I can't have healing, because I am, and I have hope that my adrenals will heal themselves completely, but I'm also completely in acceptance of I may be taking hydrocortisone for the rest of my life. And if this is the quality of life it gives me, I am down. I am so down with it. There's like zero side effects that I experience from this. If I take my supplements and I take my vitamin C and stuff like that, I'm good. So the reminder that I still have what I have, things still are what they are. And sometimes I may not be here. and I will always explain to you why. If you have any questions about any of these things, I'm happy to try to point you to some of the resources that helped for me. There was an interesting thing that I wanted to say too. When I was going through the process of figuring out what is wrong with me before I got tested and all that, I went to, because my sister has thyroid problems, and her fatigue was very different from mine. She would be sleeping all the time, constantly tired and sleeping, and hair falling out and all that. I had none of those symptoms. So I went and looked at adrenal versus thyroid symptoms. And the thyroid list was dry skin, falling hair, can't stay awake, sleeping all the time, can't lose weight, all that kind of stuff. The adrenal stuff was tired and wired and crashes and, all that kind of stuff. And at the very end, the last thing on the list was craving for black licorice. And I busted out laughing because the day before I had bought a 1-pound bag of black Twizzlers and had them sitting by the bed. Now, the thing you don't know is black Twizzlers don't have licorice in them. It's anise flavored. Licorice is a different thing. You can't buy real licorice in the States, really. You have to order it from overseas because they don't make real licorice candy here. So if you are a member of the dark side, I can hook you up with some of the best fucking licorice you'll ever have in your life. And we are a club. Put your fingers in your ears. You don't like it, you don't need to listen to this. But if you like licorice, you are my friend and I will turn you on. So that's kind of what clinched it for me is, yes, I do have adrenal problems. So anyway, like I was saying, if you're interested or curious about any of these things, if you're curious about finding a new doctor, I always recommend DOs because they have a more holistic view of symptoms and what goes on in the body rather than just allopathic, which is to suppress symptoms. DOs are more about healing conditions. And if you can find a DO like mine, whose mother is a naturopath and whose siblings are all in the natural healing field, then you're a lucky person. So that's my explanation, and I'm back to the good side now, and I am going to make sure that I stay way out ahead on the unboxing videos. So if I do have a 2 or 3 day thing, because allergy season is here and it kicks my ass every year. I'm doing my Flonase. So I will do my damnedest not to miss a day and to add other content on top of the unboxings. I have so much more to offer that I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of, and I'm very excited to be expanding things and offering these things to you. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I'm pushing very hard to get to my first 1,000. So help me get there. If you like watching these videos, you don't have to watch them, just hit subscribe. It's all good. And I'm also going to start dropping my Amazon wish list on my videos. So if you don't want to send me money, you can send me a deck direct. I like that idea. And if you send me a deck, I will do a personal reading for you with that deck. I will shoot a video of it. We can connect personally if you'd like. I mean, what I've done with my first donor got a reading, and she sent me a question and I laid the cards out and shot the video, and that's how she saw it. So that's probably the way it's going to happen. Okay. But if you go over above and buy me like a whole bunch of decks, you'll get a personal reading out of it for sure, like personal face-to-face Zoom thing. And I am working out, getting information out so I can hook you guys up with making appointments, and one step at a time. I'm 62, and I've got it going on as far as technology goes, folks. I'm not afraid of computers, never have been. So there's all kinds of, but I have to go slowly. This has been the lesson of my life, is how to go slowly. Because just kind of astrological aside here, my 6th house of health is ruled by Mars. It's got Aries on the cusp, and Mars sits in the 6th house in Taurus. So what that means health-wise is that I've got a lot of energy. I spend a lot of energy. And 6th house is also how you work. It's your work ethic and how you go about working. Aries, I go, start projects. And then because the ruler is in Taurus, which is a fixed sign, I stick with it until, so my mode used to be go at something in one day, kick ass, and I mean like move fucking mountains, and go until it's done. If it was like an 18-hour day, I'd go until it was done and then collapse, right? Can't do that anymore. I got to go little steps. So that's what I'm doing with this channel too. I'm going little steps. I'm really glad that you're here to take those little steps with me. And I will see you tomorrow with another unboxing. Until then, this is the Zen Witch. Blessed be.